All right, this is my AWA Hetalia It's a Beautiful World audition for Prussia. So I will get into character, answer some questions like Prussia, and then I'll answer some other questions like myself. All right, so the most important thing about being a nation. That's kind of a difficult question to answer because I am no longer a nation, but I have an awesome answer for you. And that is that a nation encourages its people to take pride in their achievements and to work together to become strong. Yeah. It's not based on simply being just one ethnic group or speaking one language, but it's the ideals and the goals we share. In a way, the nation embodies the spirit, the ideals of the people. And I learned this because I just kind of a mishmash of different people. When I was the Teutonic Order, I went in, I killed all the Baltic Prussian pagans. I converted some of them to the true faith, Christianity. And I also had Poles and Lithuanians moving in. I had lots of German colonists who came in. And some of my greatest kings were just basically like, hey, if you got these skills, and you got the money, and you can be helpful in making the nation strong, come on in. My first, the great elector, he was going to invite in the French Protestants when they needed refuge. And he also invited Strasburgers. And we also invited in Jews. So I'm just an old big mishmash, really. Yeah. And that's okay. Because what we did in return was they helped me grow strong. And I gave them the laws and order and something to aspire to. Greatness. Or as I prefer to say, the awesome. Okay. So, festivals, sports, as East Germany, I was awesome at sports. My people were so proud of how we did at the Olympics, lots of the gold medals. And my brother and I still love football, what that crazy America calls soccer. But we also celebrate Christmas. Nobody can do Christmas like the Germans. We gave you these great Christmas carols. We gave you the Weihnachtsbaum, the Christmas tree, and the Christmas markets, great Christmas food, all the good stuff, yeah. And also, you all think about Oktoberfest and München and Bayern. Yeah. But everywhere in Germany, we have the great beer. We celebrate it. So yeah, we have lots of cool stuff, yeah. Great mortals. I have given the world some of the most awesome mortals in history. Of course, old Fritz. Yeah. I mean, what a great king. He really did a lot for me. He was a great war commander. He was a great reformer. He was a great musician and a patron of the arts. He taught me so much. But there was also his great-grandfather, the great elector, who brokered a deal with Poland to get me out of being a vassal of his. Yeah, I actually had to, serve Poland. Isn't that sick? Ugh. So I'm eternally grateful for that. And then in the 19th century, there was the great chancellor, Otto von Bismarck, who helped me unify the rest of the German kingdoms into the German Empire. So Ludwig went from being this kind of weak, kind of unfocused little boy who's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, I feel so weak. But then we helped unify him to become a strong, powerful man. Yeah. I also gave the world one of its great philosophers, Immanuel Kant. And I also gave the world E.T.A. Hoffmann, the German romantic writer who wrote the Nutcracker story that Russia based his ballet on. So if you know that, that's Prussian. Also, I like to claim Marx and Hegel because they came to Berlin and they wrote and lectured in my universities. So one thing you have to know about me, I am not an idiot. I am as awesomely intelligent as I am strong. Okay, bad wars and regrets. I'm too awesome for regrets. Yeah, I have a regret. I regret that I didn't stand up to Hitler earlier and tell Ludwig he was trouble. Ludwig kind of railroaded me in 1933. He claimed my social democratic government was unfairly or illegally elected, or that Berlin was in a state of emergency, and that they had to get rid of that government and put in a national socialist one instead. I didn't like that. And there was Operation Valkyrie in 1944. I tried to protect the mortals involved, but that didn't work. I also kind of regret how I let Russia use me as East Germany against my brother during the Cold War. And sometimes I regret being the Stasi, because that basically meant I was spying on and terrorizing my own people, and that really isn't what you're supposed to do as a nation. But I was really good at it. Yeah. I was awesome at it. I could mess with my enemies' heads. So, I got mixed feelings about the Stasi. But I should have led the fall of communism instead of that Verdun Poland. No, I have few regrets. Okay, so allies. Let's see. I was so awesome that I just, used allies as I pleased. These days I hang out with Spain and France, but I'm actually closer to Antonio's and Frances. We got kind of a weird history together. Napoleon, Franco-Prussian War, 2 world wars, that kind of sour things with them. And I went from being enemies with Austria in the 18th century to being kind of rivals and then allies in the 19th and 20th. You call it frenemies, yeah? So we are frenemies. I had to put up with England and his crazy liberal ideas during the 19th century because one of his princesses married into my royal family. And then in the 20th century, Ludi and I were friends with the Italies. Southern Italy is kind of a jerk, but Northern Italy, he's so cute and he's so funny, except he's kind of weak and cowardly and he's always running after West all the time. Germany, help me! And I'm like, I can protect you. I am strong. Yeah. And I'm still friendly with Japan. I like his food, his stuff, and all. We hang out together. And usually today I go out drinking either with England and Denmark. We call ourselves the Epic Fail Brothers. It's just a big joke. And otherwise I will go drinking with America and Denmark. We call ourselves the Awesome Trio because duh. And those are my main friends these days. And Russia. Yeah, Russia. Is that this complicated? Most urgent issue. Yeah. Okay. What do you do when you're as awesome as I am, but you're not officially a nation anymore? Right now, I represent the German state of Brandenburg, where Potsdam and Sanssouci are. So I get to spend time at the palace and the grounds where old Fritz and I were so happy together. And I also represent the region of Eastern Germany. And we are working together on trying to get the eastern states in Germany as developed as the West. But sometimes it's hard, especially since Germany has to be the leader in solving the European financial crisis. Ludi will sometimes complain my states don't need as much money as they used to, and I say, well, with the recent floods destroying bridges and dikes, I think we will. We need more money in Eastern Germany. And also there's still kind of a wall between us, kind of a mental and attitude wall. So that's kind of a struggle. But I am so awesome, I know we can solve that. Okay, out of character questions. What got me into Hetalia? I was looking for animes on Netflix one day, and I stumbled across it. And I'm a history buff. My son likes history as well, especially World War II history. And I just thought, this looks crazy. The Axis powers as the good guys, as really cute good guys. And it just seemed like a ridiculously brilliant, simple concept. Imagine the nations of the world as cute guys and girls getting into historical and ahistorical mischief. So we started watching it, and I got more into it than my son did. And I started thinking about the characters and which parts of history the show got right or wrong. And I started reading Hetalia fan fiction, and then finally I started writing Hetalia fan fiction. And I'm actually grateful to Hetalia because that broke a 5 years writer's block for me. Why do I cosplay Prussia? I'm actually Polish and Swedish, but I didn't really connect with those two characters in the anime. And at first I just thought Prussia was funny. I just thought he was like awesome. I loved the interactions in Hungary. And then I started reading more Hetalia fan fictions and writing my own. And I started to see him as one of the more complex characters in the anime. Underneath that awesomeness and that boastfulness, he's undecided. He's worried. What's his fate? How does he cover up any anxiety or loneliness he feels? Why does he still exist, even though the state of Prussia was dissolved in 1947 and East Germany was reunified or basically absorbed in 1990? And so as I started reading more about Prussian history, I also saw that he's more than just like a loudmouth warmonger. He's not just a guy who can get into fights. As I said earlier, he's got some kings, some philosophers, some things to really be proud of. And I actually see him in some ways as a tragic figure. Yeah, he's funny and he can be a lot of fun to play, but he has a tragic flaw. He was ambitious, he was industrious, he was really good at what he did, and that got him to be where he was, but then it also led to his downfall. And so that interests me about him. I really think he's a complex, really interesting character. All right, Prussia's strengths. He's a survivor. He's gone through many forms of nationhood. He's adaptable, and he's clever. He's more clever than most people give him credit for. He's very loyal. He's hardworking. He's actually self-disciplined. He's also capable of really deep love, and he seems to have a weird mother hen quality to me. And that's what helped him raise Germany, and it still exists. He loves Gilbert. He likes he likes toy pandas. He pats Latvia on the head. So that's kind of a strange little quality of him that I like. But his weakness is his pride and his refusal to appear vulnerable to most nations. He's lonely. He needs love. He needs real praise. He needs to nurture somebody. I think that there's a part of him that really wants to take care of people. But he's afraid that if he admits these things, he's going to be laughed at or he's going to be taken advantage of. And so he has to run around telling everyone he's strong, he's awesome, he doesn't need anybody, because the idea of being mocked or being used is unbearable to him. And I think his greatest fear is that he will fade away and no one will miss him. Okay, so what I learned about history that I didn't know before. For me, it was the close, complicated kind of love-hate relationship between Prussia and Poland, of all nations. And I knew about Prussia's role in the partitions of Poland, but I didn't know what existed beforehand. I didn't know about the relationship between the Teutonic Order and Poland. I didn't know about the establishment of the Duchy of Prussia as a fiefdom of Poland's, and I didn't know about the Prussian homage, which basically Prussia had to pay to every new Polish king until 1648, and the great elector was like, this is the last time our family is going to do this ever again. Interesting thing I also learned, even though the Hohenzollern family did not like the Poles, they knew Polish. So it was like, you learn the language of people you despise so you can at least communicate with them and govern them. And every Prussian king except Kaiser Wilhelm II knew Polish. So I see this love-hate relationship between Prussia and Poland that in some ways I think is even stronger than between Prussia and Austria. Prussia couldn't wipe Austria off the map, but he could show him who's boss. Prussia wanted to destroy Poland, and he managed to do it twice. But that little skirt-wearing bastard won out. Okay. So, what has Prussia taught me? He's taught me to be more assertive and to be more comfortable in setting high standards for my students and holding my students to them. Prussians were known for being demanding drill masters, and I'm not like super jerk about it, but Prussia has taught me not to apologize for expecting my students to meet a certain standard and for holding the line on that. And in return, in order to avoid being like a hypocrite or a jerk, I have to have high standards for myself and hold myself to them. Also, Prussia has taught me to be a little tougher, to be a little more assertive, and to not back down so quickly. It's taught me to have a little bit of Zisaga. So Prussia has been really good to me. So anyway, this is the Papillon Slave, also known as Elaine Phillips, signing off. And this was my edition for AWA 2013, Hetalia, It's a Beautiful World. Tschüss.